Hello friends, welcome to another video of SQL. In today's video, we are going to learn the use of JSON in SQL. So what's the use of JSON in SQL? And first, what is the use of JSON itself? Okay. So nowadays, mostly whenever you are using any web application or a mobile application, you are retrieving some data or submitting some data to your server. Mostly this communication between your front-end browser or application and the backend server. So this client and server communication is mostly happening in the form of JSON. So these application uses using APIs, RESTful APIs, and in RESTful APIs, the response and request mostly happens in the form of JSON nowadays. So one way to make these APIs call is like, okay, when let's say example, you are filling a form in a web application with the 5 field, and then you submit this form. So this data in the form of JSON goes to API, then API extract this the properties of these column and map these 5 column with the database table columns, and then we are inserting this sending this data to the database, and then we are inserting this data in the database table. This is one way. Other way is, let's say you receive data in the form of JSON in the API, and in without doing any manipulation in the API, you are sending as is the data, or let's say with the minimal um, manipulation in the API, you are sending this data to the backend procedure, and in the inside procedure of the backend database, we are going to handle this JSON data, and we are going to extract and insert in our table. So in this way, the making these APIs very faster, because you need not to write too many class model classes to map the data. And then also, if in future you are changing the column name or even adding 1 or 2 column in your table, I mean, so that is schema changes does not impact your API. So that the change it doesn't change your API means you need not to make any code change, and you need not to deploy the code again to the server. In that case, just change the database and manipulate in the front end. Let's say you are using React for the front end, and then React or Angular, and then just change in the front end, and it uh, you are good. I mean, you need not to build your project and deploy the whole code again. So let's start. Uh, I am going to just do some practical. We'll start first. We'll create the backend object, and then we'll even demonstrate the API work as well in Visual Studio here. Okay. So I'm going to first create a table, a simple table. So let's say we are creating a test JSON table having different column, and you can see these type of columns are different. So let's create this table. Now this table is created. What are the operation mostly as a developer, backend developer or the full stack developer you are going to do in this table? Okay, first thing, because this table is newly created, there's no data in this table. So one thing, one operation you will do in this table is you will insert some data. So let's create a proc which inserts the data in this table. So this is how we create, right? Create procedure of proc and the proc name, and then you see as a parameter of like input parameter for this procedure, I am taking a JSON string here. That string you have to define just and varchar max. And what we are going to do, we are going to insert data into this table. So you see here we have ID, name, DOB, salary. GUID is default. New GUID we need not to insert. So these 4 column mostly we are concerned here. So let's insert into the table these 4 column, and then how we insert. So we use a JSON default. There are some functions, right, in SQL, JSON function. So one of that function is OpenJSON. It's very useful function. This JSON, what we will do here, just write a simple select query as you are selecting it from some table, and in place of table you will write just OpenJSON function, and inside the OpenJSON you will pass the JSON data here. So it means you will pass that parameter, and then with the with clause we use this like a dollar sign and to extract the property of JSON. So in the JSON string here, we will have the properties like ID, name, and DOB and salary, and we are going to extract it this way. And then we will also cast it with this data type, and then we are going to insert this query in this table. So quickly, let's create this procedure here. What I will do, I will just select it and create. So you see, I have created my insert proc. Okay. Now, how you will insert data in this proc? So inserting the data, that's how we run the proc, right? You just say execute and the proc name and then run it, and you can run. But you see here error because this procedure is expecting a parameter here, JSON data. We have not passed JSON data yet. So now I will create this JSON or JSON data here. So this is how we create JSON string. So you see here I have declared JSON string saying ID is equal to 1 and name is AAA, this is the date and this is salary. So this is my JSON string now. Okay. Now with this proc, I have to pass this JSON. So I will select the full and execute. And you see here, we can see one row affected. If you select the table now, see one row inserted. So that's how the insert in the form of JSON works. Okay. So here, uh, other way is when I'm, let's say, not doing the JSON, then what you have to do, you have to declare like ID int one parameter, then the other is name varchar 100, and then this like so on, and this procedure will expect these many parameters. With JSON, it is just expecting one JSON data, and then we are manipulating these properties here in the backend. So let's say tomorrow you are going to here add one more column xxx, right? And then so in our uh, input also we will get one more column here, say let xxx type varchar, and then we'll manipulate this here in the form of dollar sign and then xxx, and then you're good. So maintenance of these procedures is very easy. You need not to make any code change in your API. So as we inserted one row, let's insert one more row here, bbb, run this part again, and one more row inserted. Now we have two rows here. Same way we can update the data here. I will go later to the update proc, but let's create a select proc. Okay, so if you want to see this data in the front end, you want to select proc as well. If we just run this simple select command, select asterisk from the table, you will see the tabular form. But how we want to send the data, if you will send the data in the tabular form to your API, then API will map all, will create a model, a class, and then map all these properties, and then in the output, it will convert your output to JSON and send it to API. So API has to do a lot of work. But if we pass this output in the form of JSON from the proc itself, then you need not to change all this in the API. So this is how we return the data in the form of API. You see here, if I use like for JSON path, and then this is now the same data, but in the form of JSON string. You see here, we inserted two rows, and these are your two rows in the form of JSON array, right? So that's how we create a get proc for with the JSON output. Okay, so let's create this. It's already there, so it's okay. Now, if you execute this proc, this proc is not needing any parameter. You can just run it like this way, and you are getting your output in the form of JSON, right? And you need not to change it in your API. This is how we do the get proc. Same way, so in this table, we have seen two operations: insert the data and retrieve data. Let's say the data you inserted, you want to update that data as well. So let's create a procedure, update procedure, create procedure, procedure name, and then again, we are passing the JSON data. Now, here you can see this is simple update statement up to here. So from this table, we are updating this, and how we are updating, we are inner joining it with another table. That in place of table, I'm again using the same OpenJSON function, passing the JSON data inside it, and then with the with clause, we are manipulating these properties. Here, because this is an inner join, what I'm saying in the table, so like we are joining these two tables on n.id. So like in my transaction table, whatever ID, and if the ID in the JSON data is matching, so update those rows. So this is simple, like joining two table and updating n.name with the j.name or n.dob with the j.dob. That's how we create the update proc. Just execute it. The proc is created. Now Let's say we want to update where the ID is 1 and I have given the name NNN. I'm saying learn, let's say JSON in SQL. This is the name I have updated and this is some different salary. Now I created my JSON object. I will pass this JSON object in the function, this procedure, because this procedure is expecting one JSON parameter. Let's run it, saying one row affected. So we are expecting that ID number 1 is updated now. So you can see this ID number 1 is updated, right? So you see this is also updated. So it's very easy here. That's how we use the JSON function and it's very convenient. Now I will demonstrate you in the form of API. So you see here this is a project I created. This is a simple web API project, and in this web API project I am using these two procedures. You can see get all news. So I have a news table. I am saying get all active news from this. So I created this procedure to get all the active news from this table, and then I have also created insert news procedure, and then for this insert news the data I am inserting is as a form of, so I'm expecting one parameter JSON data. Okay, same way if you want to see this I can show you this insert proc here. It is same way. So you see here this is the input for this proc and these are the column we are inserting. Same way, select query, open JSON, and then manipulating this one. Simple. This is procedure. Now what you see in the API. In API, we are just calling this procedure here. No extra model class is required. We will just call it these procedures. And in our controller, like for API, I'm just going to map these just um, those function here. You see get news function and one more insert news function. I'm just going to use them. No extra model required, nothing required. Now this my project is running. You see here that's how this API works. If you see here, let's copy this part. So and I will re-execute, let's say, the project. So how it opens, right? Now my application is exposing these two APIs. One API is get news, other API is insert news. Get news will use that simple get proc, like as you have seen in the example. Let's say try it out. When I run it, it is not expecting any parameter, and you see here it is returning me all the data in the form of JSON directly without any model class writing. Same way, the other example is for the insert news, right? So insert news API here, I will try this API. That's, and this is the how it is expecting that. You can see it is saying that in the JSON I want these properties. So I have to just pass these properties. I copy it here, so let paste. So what I'm saying, for I'm going to insert one more uh, news here with the say last inserted, and this is description, the type is saying news, the date and the department HR. I am updating it and it's going to active. So let's I'm going to execute this API. It executed. You see here it's a new insert successful, news inserted successfully. And if you again run this get API, you can see the one more last row inserted here. This one news ID 6, you can see here last inserted title, so it got inserted. So these proc, you see here these procs are like insert proc, and even I can show you the get news proc here. Yeah, these are the simple proc. I am just returning in the form of JSON path. Include null values. What this does, like if you use this term, then for let's say some column, if you have null values, it's still your JSON will include those column with null values. Otherwise it is going to remove those columns, so you will get error in the front end binding. So it's better to always use this include null values, so that if there are null values in your output, then also it handles gracefully those null values. It means for let's say any of this column, if there are null values, so your JSON string will still handle those null values. Okay, so I hope this will be useful for you to know how and in JSON we have a lot more other functions. Like one function is JSON value, and there are a lot of JSON value, JSON queries. There are a lot different functions. Even the JSON update query function. There are a lot of functions. Um, we might have another video where I will demonstrate more JSON functions. So how you can even manipulate the JSON string in SQL to extract the data. But for now, we are good. Now you know how to use JSON and the use of JSON with the API projects. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe my channel. Thank you.